Hey, welcome to TacosTheGeeks.com reviews. Justin here, and today I will be reviewing Ocean's 8. This stars Sandra Bullock, Kate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Helen Bonham Carter, Sarah Paulson, Awkwafina, Mindy Kling, and Rihanna. And also a nice cameo from Dakota Fanning. So, how does the movie hold up? Well, I'll give you my 2 cents, but as always, you guys know how we do reviews here at ONG. Here is a brief synopsis of the film. 5 years, 8 months, 12 days, and counting. That's how long Debbie Ocean has been devising the biggest heist of her life. She knows what it's going to take, a team of the best people in the field. Starting with her partner in crime, Lou Miller. Together, they recruit a crew of specialists including Julia Amita, street con Constance, suburban mom Tammy, hacker Nineball, and fashion designer Rose. Their target is a necklace that's worth more than $150 million that is secretly and safely secured at the Met Gala in New York City. I want to start this a little bit differently. I want to talk about my pros and my cons of the film instead of just diving into the story, music, and plot and everything else like that. The pros, definitely. The cast was amazing. I really enjoyed myself watching these women. Sandra Bullock, of course, was great. Kate Blanchett was excellent. Anne Hathaway, I would definitely say, for me, was the highlight of the film just because her character was the most dynamic of all the women in this film. Because the way she starts out is not how she ends up, and I thought just the way they written her character, she was the most interesting character in the beginning, and just the way she's introduced kind of reminds you of the Devil Wears Prada, not her character, but Meryl Streep's character. Just she came off with such a bitch and just such a quote unquote real hot like that, really a real diva. You just really just ooze. It's like, oh man, I hope she's the target or something like that. It was really good. Awkwafina was hilarious. I thought she did a really great job as Constance. The movie's taking place in New York, so she really did bring her New York feel, and it just comes off so organically, so natural, and just perfect comedic timing from Awkwafina. Rihanna also, I had to give a big ups to. She was great, as well as Nineball the hacker. Helen Bonham Carter, she's always good in everything she does. She was really entertaining as Rose. And the one thing I really did like is the chemistry between these characters. All the women did great, especially I would say Mindy's character Amita had one of the best introductions, especially when she's working in the shop, when she meets Sandra Bullock and she's arguing with her mother and everything else. I thought that was really, really fun. It's a fun cast, and I really did enjoy it. I love the way that the film was shot. It really gives you this really gritty New York feel. A little bit of the glamorization of Manhattan, but I didn't mind that. It still gives you that nice New York feel that people who don't live in New York kind of see New York as this great magical place. So it was some really good cinematography and really actual legitimate shots of the Met Gala, which if you live in New York, you can go there all the damn time. You can go to the Met Museum. And just seeing how things were, like certain paintings and everything else, like, oh my god, they really shot this in New York, and I thought they did a really good job of keeping it justice. I would say some of the cons that I have with the film is the story. The story, in a lot of ways, to me, kind of failed this great ensemble cast. And I'm going to give you a couple of points. I'm going to get into minor spoilers here. The heist has some really high stakes. Like, you going to go into the Met Gala and you're going to rob the Met Gala of one of its most precious items, which that's worth $150 million. That is some huge stakes. The problem with the film and the problem with the writing is that the stakes are not felt throughout this whole movie. This is the perfect heist film. And I don't mean like, oh my god, the way the movie was made, the way the story was made is the perfect heist film. I mean that this was the perfect heist film. Like, everything was completely coincidence, or everything was planned according to the team. Everything went perfectly. Throughout this whole entire film, I have never felt that these women were going to go to jail. I was never on the edge of my seat. Even though I know it's not like a thrill or anything like that, but I was never had this sense of, oh my god, something might happen, might screw up, or this little obstacle right here might screw them up, and that's it. They're going to jail. I will say another big gripe I had with the story is this: they had this subplot with Sandra Bullock's character Debbie Ocean, and something about her and her ex-boyfriend. Like, she's still hell bent on getting revenge on this guy, and for some reason that interweaves with the whole entire heist plot, which I felt that it was not needed. That whole subplot could have been taken out, and we could have took that angle and that whole character development for Debbie Ocean, actually distribute that type of screen time to the other Ocean crew members, because you don't really get to know the women. That's the problem. Like, besides Debbie and a little bit of Lou's backstory and a little bit of Rose's backstory, you don't really get to know the women of why they're even in this path of life of crime, like, or just trying to steal things. What's their motivation? Especially Tammy. Like, Tammy's motivation, who's played by Sarah Paulson, is that she's a mom. So I guess she's bored with life, so she's going for a little excitement. That's some good characterization there. But, Aquafina's character, Constance, she's a street con, so I guess it's just like, hey, she's a con already, so let's just, hey, you want a job? Yeah, let's do it. Same thing with Rihanna's character. Nine Balls, like, oh, you want a job? Hey, yeah, but why? Like, who are they? There was no real, for me as an audience member, to get any real attachment for them, for me to root for them to succeed. It was just kind of, okay, plan, execute, and another big problem I had with the film was the pacing. It was a lot of the movie is just them planning the heist, and then the heist was kind of like the whole third act. But even watching the whole third act, it was done so well. The plan, that is, done so well. It's like, oh, okay, I guess that was easy. It just felt like there was no real stakes for them, and that was like my real biggest problem. It just seemed like there was more focus on this sub-boyfriend plot instead of making the actual heist really a real threat for the characters. Everything went too smoothly for me, so there was no real reason for me to cheer for the women or just be in fear for them. And I would definitely say that's probably like the biggest major flaw of this film, is just the lack of development of most of the female characters, and not to mention the lack of actual stakes. I mean, everything went so perfectly. So it was kind of like, okay, what happens after that? So after they succeed in certain things, you start to question it, and then they bring in an investigator and everything else, and then you're going, okay, so here's where the stakes. Nope. Even Sandra Bullock's character had that planned to a T. So everything was planned to a T. Everything went perfectly. And for a heist film, it's kind of like, really, where's the stakes? So if everything went perfect, what's the whole point? So that for me was just like a real blow for me with the story. Like, you have a great cast here, you have a great setup and premise, but you don't execute it properly. You don't give the audience a feeling for them of, oh my God, are they gonna really pull it off? Can they succeed? You don't give the audience any time to really get emotionally invested, and that's the biggest problem. And it's a shame, because these are some really good characters that I really did enjoy, and unfortunately, they just didn't. It just doesn't click, and I had to say it, you guys. It was very disappointing, but I will say, on the top of it, I would say go see it. But if I had to give it as a final grade, I'm definitely going to say matinee it, or $5 Tuesday this one. If you guys like stars, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. It just, for me, the story blunder really kind of just killed everything for me. The story blunder really just didn't do it for me, especially with the subplot of that Debbie Ocean getting revenge on her boyfriend for what reason? Like, there was no. It's like, you're in prison for 5 years. Like, you kind of sacrifice everybody's. You put people at risk for your own selfish desires, and it was just that whole plot, and the fact that there was no real stakes for you to really feel for these characters, that they're not going to make it out, or or are they gonna get arrested? There was none of that type of tension. It was just like, oh my god, everything went according to plan, easily. You robbed the Met Gala easily, and even in the film, they said this is the most highly security in the world, the most tight security of a museum in the world, and they did it over a blind spot. One blind spot which could have been easily solved if they took a female security guard instead of placing a male there. Pretty much, that would have been the whole movie. So, sorry guys, I'll recommend it for matinee or $5 Tuesday. This is Justin from otakusandgeeks.com saying later days. I'll catch you on the next one.